Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today I'm going to be talking about the top books that you can get for under 200 rupees. Now all of these books are actually available on Amazon because honestly Amazon is pretty much the only online book selling site that I trust, and it's one of the only sites that has given me like the least issues when it comes to book delivery. So like I haven't found a lot of pirated copies being sold on Amazon. Not a lot of books have gotten lost or like just not delivered to me when I order from Amazon. So that's why all of these books that I'm mentioning are actually available on Amazon, and I'll leave the links to all of them down in the description so you guys can check them out. But yeah, without further ado, let's just jump into the video. Also, I'm really sorry for the construction sound. I don't know where the drilling or whatever is happening, so if you hear that, I'm really sorry. The first book that I want to talk about is The Cherry Tree by Ruskin Bond. Now, this book is a very simple book and it's really short. I think it's like under 50 pages if I'm not mistaken. But basically the book is about the relationship between a young boy named Rakesh and a cherry tree that he plants. The most beautiful thing about this book is the way Ruskin Bond describes nature. So this book takes place in Mussoorie and like the entire region of the Himalayas, and the way Ruskin Bond has described Mussoorie and the Himalayas and just the different aspects of nature and the different seasons that this cherry tree goes through, it's just so vivid and so descriptive and so beautiful that it really makes you want to visit the Himalayas, especially the Himalayan foothills and those areas, because it is just absolutely wonderfully described in this book. Speaking of kids and nature, the second recommendation I have is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Now, this also talks about like the relationship between a young girl and a garden that she has to kind of upkeep and take care of. So the main character in this book is a young girl named Mary, and she's recently traveled from India to the UK. So this was a time when India was still ruled by the British, and she's basically had to go back to the UK because both her parents have died of, I believe it was cholera or some disease. They've died in India and she's had to go back to the UK. And Mary is actually quite an unlikable character. Like, she's very selfish, she's a complete brat, she throws tantrums and whatever. And she goes to live with her uncle in the UK. Now, while she's there, she's acting up and she's acting all brattish and whatever, until one day she discovers this beautiful secret garden. And in kind of upkeeping the garden and like taking care of the garden, somehow her connection with nature and things like that changes Mary's disposition, and she becomes a lot more caring, and she like her entire attitude changes. And this might seem very simple, but again, it is written in a really beautiful way. I read this book when I was a kid as well, and I absolutely fell in love with the idea of discovering this secret garden hidden somewhere in a house. And yeah, it was just really fun and beautiful to read. So again, highly recommended. The third book that I want to recommend, and this is kind of like a bunch of books, and that is Agatha Christie books. A lot of Agatha Christie's books are available for really cheap on Amazon, and even if like the single book is not available like for under 200 rupees, you can get a bunch of bundle deals and things like that where you can get Agatha Christie's books for really cheap prices. Firstly, if you're looking for a great whodunit style mystery novel, then I feel Agatha Christie is like the best place to start, because the way she crafts her books are so engaging, because she really like goes into all the details of the investigation. So whether it's like interviewing all the suspects, looking for clues, and then putting together the pieces of the puzzle, she writes it in such an engaging way that you yourself feel like you're a part of the investigation. So yeah, if you're into murder mysteries and if you're into just like investigation heavy murder mysteries, then I feel like Agatha Christie's books are perfect for you. The two that I've read and I really love are And Then There Were None and Murder on the Orient Express. The next book that I want to recommend is The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Now, I haven't read this entire book like completely. I've read a few passages here and there, and I believe that one of the passages was like a part of my school, like I think 10th standard or 12th standard, we had a passage from Diary of a Young Girl, and I've read it in passing here and there, but I've not like sat down and read this entire book. But the passages that I've read were so powerful and so, like, I don't know, just imagining what this young girl had to go through is just really heart-wrenching and powerful to read. So if you guys don't know, Anne Frank and her family basically lived in hiding from the Nazis. I think they lived in like a small little attic space of their apartment in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. But then, unfortunately, tragically, they were captured because someone betrayed their family and they were taken to the concentration camps set up by the Nazis, and all of them died except for Anne Frank's father. And after the Allies won World War II, Otto Frank, who was Anne Frank's father, discovered Anne's diary that she had written during the time of when they were hiding from the Nazis, and he found that diary and he published it as a book, and that is what we get to read. So we get to read her thoughts and everything that she's going through as a young teenage girl who's had to kind of live in isolation and live away from the entire world, hiding essentially to save her life. And it's just extremely powerful, and I feel like everyone should read this book. The next book that I want to talk about is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Now, this book was such a weird, strange, and harrowing reading experience, but it was also so good at the same time. Essentially, what this book is about is that a plane carrying a bunch of English schoolboys crashes on a deserted island, and basically these schoolboys are without food or like any of their luggage or anything. They're on a deserted island and they have to kind of figure out a way to survive. That's what the book is about. That's the story of the book. But at the crux of this book, the actual message of this book is that whether human beings, devoid of any law, order, or anyone really telling you what is morally right or wrong, will human beings actually do the right thing, or will they devolve into chaos? And that's what the book is about, because essentially these boys are without any structure, any parents telling them what to do. So when you're left in a lawless kind of situation, what path do human beings take? Is it the path of being good and, like, I guess, figuring out how to maintain some kind of law and order, or does everything just go to hell, basically? And I'd like to believe that the things that happen in this book is not actually what would happen if human beings are put in this situation, but it's just super interesting to read, and it was a very weird, harrowing reading experience, but like I said, it was so good, so definitely check it out. The next book that I want to recommend is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. If you're into mystery, then you definitely have to read Sherlock Holmes because, like, honestly, it's a classic. And if you really love, again, investigative kind of deduction of clues and suspects and that kind of mystery novel that's super duper engaging and filled with extremely eccentric characters, then Sherlock Holmes is definitely the book for you. Sherlock Holmes' character itself is so, like, weird. Like, he's super eccentric and he's super intelligent, and just the way he deduces different parts of the mystery and, like, he pulls apart the different aspects of the mystery and comes to his conclusions is so interesting to read, and it's so well written. Like, it really, like, it's mind-boggling at the end of every book to be like, oh my god, this is what actually happened, and the way he comes to that conclusion is just absolutely brilliant. So if you're a mystery fan and if you haven't checked out Sherlock Holmes, then please do, because it's a classic. The next book that I want to talk about is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. Now, almost all of Jane Austen's books are available for below 200 rupees on Amazon because, again, these are classics, and classics are generally, like, priced cheaper for some reason on Amazon. But I feel like a lot of Jane Austen's other books get, like, you know, a lot of promotion and a lot of people talk about them, but Northanger Abbey, which is also a really nice book, just doesn't get spoken about a lot. And honestly, this Austen novel is so much fun. Firstly, the main character in this book, whose name is Catherine, if I'm not mistaken, she is obsessed with reading Gothic novels. So she loves, like, reading Gothic, horror, mystery kind of novels. She loves them to such an extent that she ends up believing that she's living in one. And Catherine's character is so endearing and so silly, and just the way she kind of imagines an entire murder mystery thing happening to her, set in, like, 1800s England with all the propriety and just, like, you know, the different aspects of that age is so interesting to read. The other thing that I loved about this book is how Catherine's character just kind of investigates different aspects of like this abbey that she's living in. So there are like secret doors and hidden corridors that she's kind of like, you know, investigating, looking around, because she believes that she's living inside a gothic novel. And it's so silly and it's so much fun. And I wish that more people would read this book because it's just absolutely amazing. The next book that I want to talk about is Bhauri by Anukriti Upadhyay. Now, the last time I recommended this book, someone told me I was pronouncing it wrong, so thank you so much for correcting my pronunciation. I hope I'm pronouncing it right now. I hope it actually is Bhauri. I hope that's right. But this basically takes place in a small village in Rajasthan, and our main character Bhauri is like about to get married to this man. Now, Bhauri's mother is extremely feminist, and she's a very, very like independent, strong lady, and she's brought up Bhauri to be also very independent and strong. But the family into which Bhauri is marrying, that family is very traditional and very, very patriarchal. So the story follows how Bhauri tries to kind of adjust to life in this new family, as well as how she kind of tries to win the heart of her husband, who isn't as loyal or isn't as loving as she would have hoped. And it really talks about the lengths one person would take to kind of find acceptance in a house as well as to find love. The book is very, very simply written, and it really just talks about Bhauri's day-to-day struggles in trying to adjust to this family and to adjust to her new husband. But the ending is just what really blew my mind, because the ending is so surprising and like I didn't really expect it coming. So like the ending is what makes everything that happens in the book just seem a lot more interesting. So you just have to stick with this book and get to the ending, because once you get there, you'll understand why everything that was going on actually happened. The next book that I want to talk about is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Now, I have like mixed opinions about this book, but overall, I think it's quite a nice book that people should read. So what this book follows is the life of this self-made millionaire named Jay Gatsby, and it talks about how he basically comes to wealth and also his pursuit of a young woman named Daisy who he's in love with. Now, this takes place in 1920s US during the Jazz age. So what I really liked about this book is just the way the entire 1920s era is kind of described. So all of the parties that this millionaire throws, and just like everything that happens at these parties, the scandals that happen, and just all the extremely unlikable characters that are there in this book, like the way that they are described, and the entire setting is just beautifully written. But because of the time in which this book is written, as well as the time in which it is set, there is a lot of like sexism and racism in this book, which I know is not a fault of the classic itself, because it was written in that time when all of this was rampant. But for me, just reading it from today's sensibilities, it felt a little off-putting. But yeah, if you're okay with that thing and those things in classics don't bother you, and if you're looking for a really strange, twisted tale of money and riches and how money kind of changes you as a person and all of those aspects, then definitely check out The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The next book that I want to talk about is The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. Now, I've spoken about this book a few times on my channel, and honestly, the reason why I keep bringing this book up is because I feel that a lot of us really love Jungle Book the movie or Jungle Book the cartoon TV show, but not a lot of us have actually read The Jungle Book, the actual book. And honestly, it is so much fun. It is full of adventure, and it has all the characters that we all love so much in this one book that it's just such a fun book to read. Like seriously, the adventures of Mowgli and Bhalu and Bagheera and Kaa, like to read them in the book is such a treat. So if you are a Jungle Book fan in terms of like the movie and the TV show when you were a kid, like if you loved it and you haven't read the book, then please read it, because I feel like the reading experience is actually really awesome and could actually be better than the movie. So yeah, that was my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, all of the links for these books will be in the description, so check it out and you can get them for below 200 rupees. And yeah, if you like this video, give it a big fat thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you've read any of these books and what you think about them. And of course, do subscribe to my channel for more book related videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.